Yo, what's up, dogs? I went and saw X on Monday, which was Canadian Thanksgiving. So I saw a matinee, and I went to the downtown theater for 10:20 a.m. I haven't been to this theater in a long time. I don't think I've been here since Indiana Jones 5, and that's where I was dozing in and out because they have the recliner chairs. So you got to be a little careful when you hit those recliners. You know what I'm saying? So I got myself a tea. When I got to the theater, I have a thing here. The usher who cuts off your tickets, he was like, "Excuse me, sir, what's the appeal to the Saw movies?" And I kind of sat there for a second because I'm not like a big Saw fan. I don't see these movies ever. I don't think I've seen a Saw movie since Saw 3. So my Saw knowledge is very deleted is the best way to look at it. I remember watching Saw 1, 2, and 3 in the theaters and nothing else afterwards. And I forget a lot of it. So my Saw knowledge is very blurry. So going into this movie in general, I'm going into this as a Saw newbie. So that's part of the review to point out. And so I said to the gentleman, I was like, I think the appeal to the movie is the traps because that's why I'm here. I want to see what cool traps the hero or villain, I don't know what to call him, anti-hero, is creating for his victims. And that's what I think the appeal is to the movie. And he thought that was a good enough answer, and he let me through to the theater. So when I got to the theater, there was like 5 people there in total. Yeah, maybe 6. This very small group of us. And I have to say, as someone who hasn't watched Saw in very, very long time, I didn't really expect anything from this movie. But after I finished watching it, I thought that it was just like, I had a really fun time with this movie. Like, I enjoyed myself from beginning, middle, and end. And I left I left the theater entertained and kind of wanting more, which is like really interesting to me that when it was all said and done and the credits hit and there is a little stinger after credits little thing too, which whatever. I was like, "Oh, I want to see more." And I think that's a good thing for this franchise as it made me want to see more. So if there's more people out there who are maybe coming back to the franchise after a very long time being away from it, you might also go, I want to see more. And I think that's really interesting. I'm curious if anyone else out there has seen this movie like myself. What do you think about it in the comments below? Like, let's have a little dialogue here because I genuinely was like, this was cool. I think this was a pretty damn good movie. I'm entertained. So, yeah, I hope everyone else was entertained. I enjoyed it. So, let me break this down a little bit for you. I got the budget here. It was made for $13 million. It looks like it was made for $13 million. Like, I'm not going to knock it. It's a genre film. It's an R-rated horror movie, right? Like, they get made for cheap. And I was actually surprised that this was a $13 million movie. I was like, oh, I thought this would have been a little bit more, like $30 million. But I was like, this is $13 million, and this is what they made with it? Not bad. It gives me hope for genre filmmaking and budgeting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm learning a lot from going over these budgets. Like, thank you for the suggestion out there. Thank you. So the box office to date has a domestic haul of 34 million and an international haul of 23 million, bringing us up to a worldwide total of $57 million. So that means it's made $34 million if you take the initial budget out. And then probably, you have to do the double for the marketing. So and then the 10%, 20% cut for the theater. So it's in the black and starting to generate money for the studios, which is a good thing, right? And it's probably going to make more money when it hits digital and streaming and physical. I think this movie is going to have some legs there. So it's making its money back. It's definitely generated some interest for a potential sequel if they do something. I don't know how this works because this movie takes place between the first and second film. So I don't know how you do a sequel in the middle of the it's so weird, right? Because this is a sequel in the middle of of a first and a sequel. It's a mess when you sit down and look at the numerology of it all, but it's okay. it's a mess they can figure out. So let's get into the critical scores right here, even though they don't matter. What matters is if you enjoyed the film or not, you know? So we got the Rotten Tomatoes out here. It has an 80% critics rating and a 90% audience rating. We have a Metacritic of 60 out of 100 and a 7.7 for the user score. And the cinema score itself is a very solid B. But like I said, it's up to you, man. Go see it. Actually, I'm telling you to go see it. No, see it if you want to. You know how I review things. So let's break this movie down, okay? So it's directed by Kevin Greutert, who has also done Saw 3D, which came out in 2010, and Saw 6, I believe, which was 2009. So he's returning to the franchise as a director who knows the material. And if I was to sit down and like look at composition, blocking, staging, and all that stuff, there is only one shot in this movie that I thought was like really laid out nicely, and it's one of the traps where we'll get into all the characters, but her name is Valentina, and where she is strapped to, the way they left the pipes in like the gasworks facility looked like a nice like cross above her, so it's very Catholic inspired Mexican religious effigies in here, and I thought that looked really cool. And that's probably like the only shot in the movie where I was like, oh, that was cool. Someone put some time into laying some things out, you know? So I'm going to mention the writers here. We have Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger, who've also written for Jigsaw, which came out in 2017. And they also wrote for Spiral, which came out in 2021. And those are also Saw movies in the Saw franchise. All of these Saw movies that I have listed so far, I have not seen. I actually thought Saw 3D was Saw 3 for a second there. So I was like, is there a Saw 3? And then there's another Saw in the movie called Saw 3D, like down the road. Okay, that's cool. So let's get into the story here, and I'm going to break it all down for you. And I'm telling you right now, spoiler warnings, get ready for it. Here we go. So the story kicks off with the return of Tobin Bell as John Kramer, and this character is currently going through cancer treatments, and they are assessing his cancer, and he's pretty much only got like maybe 3 to 6 months left to live. That's it, the doctor says, and there's not really much they can do for him, okay? So he's kind of just downtrodden, beaten, and has really like no real will to live right now. He's just like, I guess it's over for me, you know? And we kind of follow him for a little bit, going to, he goes to a cancer treatment, not a cancer treatment facility, but a cancer AA meeting. And we see him opening up about his cancer and his life and stuff like that. We also have like a weird flashback, but not a flashback, like an imagery scene where he runs into a nurse who's working, who's stealing from a patient that can't see or anything. And our character John here is having these like images of what he wants to do to him, right? He wants to put him in a trap, and the trap is really cool. It's the first trap of the film. It's the poster trap too, where you see the guy with the tubes on his eyes that make the X. That's the trap that we're introduced to, and he's having these fantasies of doing this to this person, but I feel like he feels like he can't do it anymore because of his cancer diagnosis, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, he's kind of just has no motivation to push on. And again, I'm coming at this from very limited knowledge of the Saw franchise, and how this intertwines into the Saw universe makes no sense to me, of his lack of will to live, because he kills a lot of people. Well, he doesn't kill them. He gives them the choices, right? The morality. Anyways, I'm not even going to think about those movies. This is standalone to me. So he goes about his days and his life. You know, he's just like he's just living. You know what I'm saying? And he goes to like the AA meeting, and he meets a character named Henry Kessler, who's played by Michael Beach. And this character is a cancer survivor, and he's talking about it at the AA meeting and all that stuff too, right? But he bumps into him later when he's sitting there having a coffee out in the open, and he sees Henry. He's like, "Hey, Henry, it's me, John. We were in AA together for cancer survivor stuff and all that jazz." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember you, John." And they talk for a little bit, and John's like, "Hey, you're looking really good. Like, I thought your cancer was like really developed and going, like, you were on the way out too, like me." And he's like, "You know what, John? I found this treatment. It's down in Mexico. Here's the website. You can go there if you have the money. Maybe they can help you." And he shows like the scar of like what they did to him. And he said like, they'll cut out the cancer, and you go on a series of drugs that help alleviate the pain and heal you and stuff. It's very experimental, but if you can do it, go for it. Here's the stuff. Go and do it. So John does such things. He emails them, tells them all about it, and he gets a phone call later. He's like laying on the couch, just like he's so like discouraged. So he's just laying on the couch, defeated. Then he gets a phone call, right? And he picks it up, and it is Cecilia? Not, I was gonna say Celicia. That's not it. Cecilia Peterson, who's played by Shinove Macody Lund. I hope I pronounced her real name correctly. And she is our villain, okay? And what she is, she's a doctor who is the daughter of the I can't remember what her father's name is, but he's the guy who came up with this experimental treatment and stuff. And now he's gone into hiding, and she's the one who's doing all the work now, carrying on his legacy because he can't do it. He's in hiding, and she tells Jonathan that like, "Yo, we're always moving, so I have an experimental treatment clinic ready to go, but it won't be ready for you in a couple months." And then like he kind of is like, "I don't have a couple months, man. I might have a week or two." And so she's like, "Okay, we can bump you in. It's in Mexico. If you can get here tomorrow, we will get you in and start working on you right away. Wire me the money, And he does it. He's in Mexico. He gets there, and the first thing we get is him finding the taxi cab, who is where is he? Oh my God! Did I not write down the taxi guy's name? Oh no, here he is. So he runs into Diego, who is played by Joshua Okamoto, and this guy is a cab driver, and he is. We learn more about him, okay, as the story progresses. But he picks up John. He drives him to the site where the medical facility is, and this scene is actually kind of ridiculous because when they get there, they get bombarded by like these dudes with like tactical gear in a big black van, and they're like, "Hey, who are you?" And they're like going to shoot him and stuff. And the guy's like, I'm John. He's like, "You're John? Okay, get in. You're coming with us." But like, if you listen to the conversation Cecilia has earlier, she's like, we'll get you a cab in a car and we'll take you straight to here. Like, it seems very posh and like luxury, but when it actually happens, it's like this very military style thing, and you're kind of like, wait a minute, like why'd you sell us on this posh life when there's this military group? It's like a weird tonal shift for no reason, and so he gets whisked away. And he goes to the villa where he's going to stay and get the treatment, right? And the villa, as it is explained later, she's like, Cecilia's like, "Sorry for the military or the high security. Government agencies are always after us, and we're always on the move. So we have to have, we have to be very careful who gets in here and who gets out. So that's why we have these." Soldiers of fortune, so to speak, working for us, and Jonathan's like, "Okay, that's cool, man. I'm here for the treatment, And as he's walking around, he meets Gabriella, who's played by Renata Vaca, who is she seems to be the stewardess or the owner of this facility, and she just like she just treats Jonathan like a normal human being, like just genuinely interested in his well-being, And as he's being escorted around by Cecilia, they run into this little boy. I can't remember his name right now. I couldn't find it on the IMDb for some reason. And his father, and they introduce this kid as like, he's a little soccer player. He just lives around here. With the father's a farmer and like does work around the facility. Like, he's not really of anything of any importance. You know what I'm saying? So don't worry about him. So Then he goes into the facility and he sees like where they're going to perform the surgery, right? And he's introduced to Valentina, who's played by Paulette Hernandez. And this is a nurse who's like doing all the blood work and stuff like that. And they also introduce Mateo, who is played by Octavio Hinojosa, who is like the esthetician. And these are just like crew members of a normal surgery. And the doctor isn't there yet. So they just go over the normal procedures of getting him in as an intake patient and kind of set him up for like, hey, we're going to do this tomorrow. Get ready. Go lay down. Have a good, sleep. Get rested and stuff like that. And like, he interacts with Gabrielle a little bit. And he's just like finding his he's starting to get a little will to live. You know what I'm saying? Like his spirits are getting renewed. And the first half of this movie is genuinely well thought out and paced, where it's like you feel for Jonathan and you feel for him as like he's just a shell of himself. He's going through cancer. You feel for him when he has that little bit of hope. And then you feel for him like they have the surgery. It's a success. Oh, wait, they actually, before he has the surgery too, we are also introduced to, where is he? Peter Sears as who's played by Stephen Brand, and this guy he's a cancer survivor as well. Like he just had the surgery before Jonathan gets there, and he had like throat surgery for throat cancer. So we get a little introduction of this guy as well, and he's on his way. He's like, "Hey man, I'm feeling great." It's just like little eggs to keep Jonathan motivated, like this surgery is going to work, because he's seen Henry earlier, he's seen Pete Parker now, and he's like, I'm going to be the next survivor, and it's really cool, man. It's just really well done. So they do the surgery. It's a successful surgery. He's in the hospital, like in the recovery room of his. He's got the bandages on, all that stuff, and Cecilia shows up and is like, hey, you need to do this, 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 and this, and take the medicine and you'll be fine, okay? And so he does. He goes about his normal routine, and he's living now. He's got like a swagger to him, right? And he's in Mexico, and he's doing some doodles and stuff, and he's trying to figure out the location of where the villa is. And he's smart, so he actually figures it out because he wants to send some tequila to Gabriella for like as a thank you for this, right? So he figures out the address. And when he goes to give the, mail it, they're like, this address doesn't exist. And he's like, huh? How could this address not exist? I was just there. So then he goes and explores it, and the place is turned over. Like someone just ransacked it, like ambushed it, right? And so he's kind of like, what the hell happened here? And he's exploring it. And then he finds like the medical operating room. He sees a DVD player, and it shows the brain surgery on the DVD player that he's seen like out of the reflection. And then he's like starting to put it all together that he's been scammed, and he rips off his bandage. There's no cuts and stuff. Like he looks in the mirror, there's no cuts. And like we feel for him. We feel for this character, like, oh my God, this guy just got scammed, and he got scammed out of a lot of money. So now we're now the emotions like, let's get these like we're on this really well thought out emotional roller coaster with a hero that's not a hero. You know what I'm saying? But like they're giving you all the heroic elements of like, I am on this hero journey with this guy. Now let's get revenge. This movie, honestly, I guess it's a horror film or whatever you want to call it, but it's not. It's a vigilante film. This is Death Wish. You know what I'm saying? But the only thing that's different about it is, instead of shooting people with a gun, he traps them and lets them do their own morals. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to finish the trap in order to survive. And so, the movie goes nuts now because he wants his revenge. It's a revenge film. And he goes, he kidnaps Diego, the cab driver, and he does another trap. He puts these bombs on Diego's arms, and he attaches knives to his hands, and he's like, hey, if you want to survive, you got to cut these off. And that's that. If not, you're going to lose both your arms, right? And you can never drive again. So he does it. He tortures him to get the information that he needs. He needs to know who every single one of those people are. And then he sends the information off to a detective, and he's like, find me these people. And he finds everybody, and he says, there's a lot of things going on. Anyways, so he gets them all, kidnaps them all. Diego lives, by the way. He does cut his arm, all the stuff off. It's actually really well done scene. It's actually very intense. I would like to note here I would like to note here that the sound design in this movie is gnarly. Because when they're cutting into the flesh and you can hear the blades scraping, because he's rushing it, right? So you hear it just scraping on the metal and maybe the bone and tearing out. Sound design is so gruesome. Like, I cringed a little bit because I'm just like, you're hearing all this noise. You're like, this is disgusting. But it's so well thought out. Like, I loved every minute of it. It was so gruesomely awesome, the sound design on this. Sometimes the sound doesn't really work, but when it comes to the body terror, great. Okay, so he kidnaps everyone. We find out that he has an assistant named Amanda Young, who's played by Shawnee Smith, and she's the assistant to John. I remember her from, I think it's Saw 2 or 3, and I guess she works for him. I can't remember the correlation, but so she's the assistant. She helped him gather all these people up, and now they're in this room together, this gas chamber-ish room or pipe fitting room. And he tortures them all, right? In theory. Well, he puts them all in a game, right? So the first game is, like I already mentioned, with Valentina, who her game is crazy. Like, the thing is like, I don't want to go through all the games or all the traps, because I want you guys to watch them and experience them for the first time like I did. They're gruesome. That trap is gruesome. All three traps the first three traps, gruesome. And, like, I don't want to ruin this. Okay, I'm going to ruin it. So she dies. And she dies. She almost wins her trap. She almost beats the trap, but she dies. The time runs out. Her head gets cut off, right? It's awesome. Again, great sound design here. And so the phone goes off. Like, there's a phone in the middle of the room, and it goes off, and it's Cecilia's phone. And she cuts open Valentina's stomach and pulls out the intestines, and they make a rope to grab at the phone and pull it to her. And then she answers the phone, and the phone gets electrocuted by Amanda, and Amanda takes the phone and takes off with it. And there's a lot of good conversation pieces going in here. I'm glossing over. A lot of good character development of Amanda and her moral code of, like, she doesn't want to kill Gabriella because Gabriella is a drug addict. Like, we learn about all the histories of these characters that team up with Cecilia to steal money from these people. And like, Gabriella's a drug dealer or drug addict. Valentina is a prostitute. Mateo works at a animal shelter, but he steals drugs, so he's a drug dealer. Like, everyone has their thing, you know what I'm saying? And it's really interesting because, like, Amanda's trying, like, kind of connecting with Cecilia, and I'm trying to remember if Amanda was a drug addict as well, and that's why they're connecting in a way. And, like, Gabriella's like, please save me, like, I didn't mean to do this, I have an addiction. And Amanda's like, shut up, and just listen to John and you might survive. So then we go to the next trap, which is Mateo. He doesn't do it. It's gross, though. His trap is gross. And then we get to Gabrielle. Then, like, Parker shows up, and, like, he's playing this role of, like, oh, Cecilia scammed me out of money too. And John's like, well, you'll have your time to do something to get your money back. Like, I have the money, but there's no gun. Like, it can't be violence. There's morals to all this. I don't kill anybody. They kill themselves because they play the game, and it's a morality thing. There's a lot of interesting manifesto of John's morale code. You know what I'm saying? And it's an interesting way to delve into it. And we're learning that Amanda is also coming together with her own moral code, so to speak, as well. She's learning from John, and she's learning from these characters about, like, specifically, like, Cecilia is just a bitch. Like, she is not a good person. So we're seeing a lot of stuff building here, right? And so Mateo dies, and then it turns Gabrielle, she successfully finishes her trap, but at a cost. And when she finishes her trap and she's free, Parker turns on John and is like, I am here to save Cecilia. And so the whole game gets flipped around, and he frees Cecilia. He chains Jonathan and Amanda up to the trap that Cecilia was trapped to. Cecilia breaks Gabriella's neck. Amanda freaks out, like, she's losing it. What else happens? So Parker and oh wait, the little kid with the soccer ball shows up, and they're like, oh, we're gonna play a different game. So they kidnap the kid, attach him to the torture device, the trap that John's trapped to, and Cecilia and Parker go upstairs to where the money is supposed to be, and now the trap's unfolding, and this is a waterboarding trap of just pure, probably pig's blood, and it's disgusting, and it's waterboarding the kid and Jonathan as you pull the levers. Really well thought out trap, actually. And then as they, like, what happens? What was it that happened? Oh yeah, that's right. Parker grabs the bag of money, and then all of a sudden it sets off the trap inside, and like the doors all lock where they are, and the trap that Jonathan's on, I believe, stops, and they're freed. And it was kind of funny scene because as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, wait a minute, why is this trap designed like this? Because he only kidnapped Cecilia, so why would this be a waterboarding trap? The trap is designed for two people. You know what I'm saying? It's designed that way. And I'm sitting there thinking about this, going, is this like, did they screw up in the story? So I was invested in this, and then all of a sudden Parker asked the same question. He goes, wait a minute. Why is there two people on this trap when it was only for you? And I'm like, yeah, Parker, why is this? And then that's when the doors all close, and it's like, oh my God, Jonathan planned this the whole time. Like, this guy's played 4D chess. It was hilarious. And so now they're trapped. Jonathan's free. Amanda's free. The little kid's free. So Parker and Cecilia are dying because it's like some radiation gas that's going on. And they fight, and she stabs them and kills them. Parker's dead. It's foreshadowed. And Cecilia sticks her head through the gas, like through the wall, which is like the only one head could get through, right? So as long as you get your head outside and breathe fresh air, you're going to survive, because that gas is toxic, and if it gets in your lungs, you're going to rot and die. So it's a fight for who could get the clean air. And she's stuck there at this point in time. And yeah, like Jonathan has the bag of money. It was planned the whole time, and he gives the money to the little kid. He's like, see you later, kid. Thanks for helping. And Amanda and John walk away and leave Cecilia there, and she's shouting out John's name like, I'm gonna get you, John. And so you're kind of sitting there going, like, why did she live? I hated her the whole time. I was hoping she would die. And that was like a great feeling, because I guess it's not over for her. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like, ooh, I wanted her to die so bad, but she didn't. She survived. She's such a gnarly little bitchy villain. I liked her so much because she's dastardly in the entirety of this movie, guys. Like, when she's kidnapped, she's just dastardly, and I liked her. I really did. And just to see her not get captured at the end or survive her trap at the end was awesome. So yeah, that's the whole story. And then we get a little teaser trailer piece at the end after the credits where he he actually sets up Henry that he met at the beginning, who was the one who said, hey, go see this person to get your cancer treatment. And he has Henry stuck in a trap now. And it's like, it's your turn to play the game since you are part of the whole scam. And Henry's like, I didn't mean it, man. I didn't mean it. It was so awesome, man. It was awesome. It's like the one person you don't want to you don't want to mess with John because he's coming after you. And there was some hope, when John turned it on where he's like, I'm going to get every one of you. It's like his spirit's really renewed. Like, revenge took over and he became a vigilante. And it was awesome. It was so much fun. This movie is so much fun. It's a pretty damn good movie, guys. Pretty damn good. I have to say, I recommend it. For sure. Go see this film in the theater. See it in a cheap night. If you have to wait, digital, download it, stream it, get it into your system, because it's an enjoyable Saw movie from a very long historic Saw franchise. I have questions about this movie because I don't watch all the Saw films. So as a normal person who hasn't watched them all, I think you'll have a good time watching this film. I really do. I don't think you need to do all the legwork to see everything and know everything that's going on. I think they do a pretty damn good job for just a normal, you don't know everything, you're going to enjoy the film. So I recommend it. Go and see it. Whew. Will I buy it for my collection? I don't know. That's a tough one. Because I don't really care about the Saw franchise. However, I really enjoyed this movie. So we'll see. Maybe next Halloween, if I'm feeling like, oh, I wouldn't mind watching another Saw movie and that's out there and I can find it for like $10, I'll probably buy it. Maybe. Mostly. I don't know. We'll see. It's a maybe. It's a maybe. Yeah, so go see it. Anyways, that's the end of my review. The next movie that's coming up for the review is The Exorcist Believer, and after that will be Flowers of a Killing Moon, I think it's called. And yeah, I'm out, guys. Peace. Have a good one. And whatever movies you guys are watching, I hope you're digging them and loving them. Like I said already, peace out, guys. Bye.